Good afternoon, everyone. This is a good day in Bloomington, Indiana. I am Pamela Whitten. I'm the president of Indiana University, and I want to thank you all for joining us today as we embark on a new era of Indiana football. So it's with great enthusiasm and great optimism that we welcome to the IU family an individual whose passion for the game, commitment to excellence, and proven leadership have truly set him apart as the ideal candidate to join our Hoosier family as our football's 30th coach at Indiana University. Now, I had the opportunity to spend a couple of hours with Coach Cignetti just this week, the other day, and learned a great deal about him and who he is and what he can bring to Indiana. And let me express it to you this way. So everyone knows the game of Jeopardy, right? Where I tell you the answer and then I'm going to tell you the question. So let me tell you the answer first. And the answer is wage a tenacious battle against complacency. That's the answer. Wage a tenacious battle against complacency. And that was the answer that the coach gave me when I asked him, what is the secret sauce to having a winning record every place you go? And he responded to me, I wage a tenacious battle against complacency. And when you look at what he's accomplished, I think those words actually ring true. He brings a distinguished coaching record marked by an unwavering commitment to the holistic development, of course, of student athletes. He has never had a losing season as a head coach. He was 52-9 in 5 seasons with James Madison University, where his team went 11-1 this season, and he was named the 2023 Sun Belt Coach of the Year. At his previous university, Elon, he went 14-9, and he began his head coaching career at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which had a 4-10 conference record prior to his arrival there, and where he finished 53-17 with 3 NCAA playoff appearances and 2 conference championships. He's also had success in various offensive coaching roles and recruiting roles at the University of Alabama, NC State, Pittsburgh, Rice, Temple, and Davidson, dating all the way back to 1983. So those words ring true. Wage a tenacious battle against complacency. We're ready for that at Indiana University, Coach, as well. I will also tell you from that experience, it was very obvious the way he sat in his seat, the way he answered questions, that was a nice experience, but he was ready to get up and coach some football. So we're glad to have you actually here in town to get started as well. I want to take just a second, and I want to thank some folks. I want to thank the chairman of our Board of Trustees, Quinn Buckner, as well as all of our trustees for their support and, frankly, great enthusiasm in this new hire for Indiana University. I also want to thank our athletic director, Scott Dolson. Scott ran an amazingly professional and tight search. I was so impressed with the way he ran this search. His thoroughness was just really, truly extraordinary. And Scott, frankly, is an extraordinary athletic director. I'm so grateful to have the chance to work with him. He shares the values that we all hold, and particularly that I hold, that winning is very important, but it's always about the student athletes first at Indiana University, always. And tied with that, of course, is the importance of integrity. We're going to always do the right thing at Indiana University. And so I have to say, Coach Cignetti, after some time with you and bringing you to the university, you were born to be a Hoosier, sir. Born to be a Hoosier. So with your passion for winning, with your obvious commitment to our student athletes, and the recognition that winning doesn't mean anything unless you do it right, let me be the first to welcome you and your family to Indiana University as the coach of our Hoosier football team. Welcome.
Thanks, Pam. Let me tell you, I'm excited to be here today. As many of you know, I've been here for a long time, and I've had many exciting days here at IU, but I count this as one of the real exciting days. I've got several thank yous that I'd like to say as well, but I really want to first starting by, I want to recognize and thank Tom Allen. I haven't had a chance to publicly do that, but I want to thank Tom for his tireless work on behalf of the university, and want to make certain that we just wish Tom and Tracy all the best, and he'll always be a part of the IU family. You know, I also want to thank, Pam mentioned Quinn Buckner and the IU Board of Trustees. I want to thank them as well. Quinn has been obviously a great leader for us for a long time. Quinn this week, searches like this are a grind. I mean, it's nonstop. And it's interesting because I think he had intuition, because there was a point and the day on Monday where it was kind of hitting me, and I felt like, it was just a lot. And I got a phone call, and it was Quinn, and he said, hey, I don't want to talk anything about the search. He said, I just want to make sure you breathe, take care of yourself. It's going to be good. You're going to do a great job. It's going to be good. And he has no idea how much that meant to me, but that just shows the leadership Quinn has, and it really, really meant a lot. I think President Whitten. President Whitten's been amazing. I can't tell you how many awesome things we have going on here at IU across the university, and how many directions she's pulled it at once. But anytime I need anything, anytime that we need to get together, and this search obviously was very intense in a short time period, I had her 100% full attention, and just there's absolutely no way we can get this done without her, and I just want to thank her for incredible support. I also want to thank our department staff. Again, when you turn something around this quickly, it takes a lot, and I certainly won't take the time to mention all of them, but they know who they are, and just can't thank them enough. I would like to singly point out Deputy Athletic Director Maddie White. She's also our football sport administrator. She's been amazing and just, again, with me every step of the way. And also Deputy Athletic Director Stephen Harper, who I might add, his wife had their third child 6 days before we started this search, and was with us every step of the way and gave really that extra mile, and just want to thank him so much. He said that his child was born 3 weeks early. He wanted to be here for this day. He wanted to make certain he was here for this historic moment. I also want to mention one other thank you. I want to thank Pete Yonkman and the Hoosiers for Good and Hoosiers Connect collectives. I tell you, it's a new day in college athletics and college football, and the way and the donors that have stepped up for our collectives have been huge, and it's a big, big part of this. I want to make certain that I thank them. Without Pete's leadership, and then certainly the collectives, we wouldn't be in the same position we are today, and we appreciate them. In terms of strategy, just real quick, how did this happen? What were we looking for, and how did we end up here? We put together a profile. We really put together what do we need right now? What is exactly what we're looking for? It's if this goes well, what would a coach look like? What would they be all about? We had really 3 things that I'll highlight now. I won't go through the entire list. It was pretty exhaustive. But we really wanted an experienced, successful head coach. That was really important to us. We really wanted a high-level recruiter. We wanted someone who was a proven evaluator and developer of talent. And we really wanted someone also that worked with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks was really important to us. We also want to make certain someone really understands the modern era we're in right now with NIL and the transfer portal. That was really, really important. And finally, we wanted a winner. We wanted someone with some swagger, with some confidence that could really bring that to our program and really help establish the identity of IU football. As Pam said, we had an exhaustive search. We really went quickly, but we scoured the country, and fairly quickly, Kurt identified himself as someone that was really different. He really did. And you may think, well, why? What stood out about him? Again, just a few things. There were several things, but the main thing I would say is right away, and this came out in the first conversation I had with him, he's a winner. And I remember hanging up after the first call with Kurt, and I remember going into Maddie White's office, and I said, hey, this guy's different. I think he can win here. And just in a half-hour, 40-minute conversation, I could feel it. It was one of those things you just know. The second thing, he's just got an incredible depth of experience. I was amazed, and Pam was there for this part too, in terms of he was telling about his experience on Nick Saban's staff. And it was really just an enlightening and great part of the conversation, and how he's formed. He is his own man, his own coach, but how that helped shape his career. He's an excellent recruiter, player developer, certainly evaluator. And really the final thing with Kurt that was really the final piece of this is that he's the type of person that would fit here. He's a great person. He's got incredible work ethic, and he's got high character. And for us, he was a perfect fit for us. So I couldn't be more excited today. And just like Pam, on behalf of really Hoosier Nation, I want to welcome Kurt, his wife Manette, and the entire Cignetti family to our Hoosier family. We couldn't be more excited. Kurt, welcome to IU.
Thank you, Scott. President Whitten, appreciate your support, belief, and trust in me to lead this football program in the top conference in the country. And looking forward to the challenge. It's a challenge that really got my juices flowing. And I left a great job that I could have retired in with a contract through 2030 and won a lot of football games. But sometimes you got to make hard decisions in life. This was a hard decision for me. Because you've got to be uncomfortable to grow, and I'm too young to stop growing. So this is an exciting opportunity at a prestigious university in the top football conference in the country, and there is no reason why we can't be successful, pack the stadium, and be a source of pride to the entire university and town and state of Indiana, town of Bloomington, state of Indiana. Okay? We're going to change the culture, the mindset, the expectation level, and improve the brand of Indiana Hoosier football. There will be no self-imposed limitations on what we can accomplish. It'll be a day-by-day process that is hinged on being focused on the present moment and improving as much daily as possible to put yourself in the best position tomorrow. It's how we do everything as coaches, players, everybody in the organization. And there is one leader, and he's standing here. I am standing, I believe. Still standing. Okay? In that building, and it's me. And everybody follows that lead. And that's one of the keys to success, is we have everybody thinking alike. All right? So we have a blueprint and a plan that has been successful, proven to be successful, and no reason it shouldn't be successful again. We're knocking all kind of things out today. All right? And looking forward to getting to work. So with that, questions.
Start with Zach, and you're right. Please say your name, and I'll go.
Zach Ostrom with the Indianapolis Star, coach here. Over here.
Yep.
Nice to meet you. We heard a lot from President Whitten and Scott Dolson about why you were the right choice for them as you evaluated them, as you evaluated the job. Why was this? What were the factors that made this the right choice for you?
I thought it was a tremendous challenge in a great football conference. And the type of challenge that I've already succeeded at once before. Like when I went to Elon, okay, their one-loss record before I went there was like 7-45 or something like that, right? Put the blueprint in, the plan. After 9 games, we're 8-1. Played JMU for the conference championship. The next year, went up and beat JMU at JMU, broke their 29-game winning streak at 4 or 5-1 at that point, ranked in the top 5 of the country. Lost our running back, quarterback the first series, the next game, won the next 3, but then didn't finish well. Thus 14-9. I don't like 14-9. Okay, that's not very good. But we know how to do it. I've been around great people, great mentors. My father was a Hall of Fame coach. I had the opportunity to go in with Coach Saban on the ground floor at Alabama when Alabama was a mediocre football program, and we went from 7-6 to 12-0 year 2 and recruited a class that had 6 first-round draft choices. Very instrumental in the recruitment process of a few of those guys that won Heisman trophies, All-American awards, et cetera, et cetera. Had the opportunity to coach Julio Jones. Coach Phillip Rivers, who you guys remember came in here, threw a great touchdown pass to Corin Robinson in the year 2000, a dramatic comeback, right? And so opportunity to be around a couple great players. But great mentors, got a passion for the game. I'm a football guy. My hobby is football. It's football and family for me, and that's it. And I'm proud to announce recognize my wife, Minette. We've been married 33 years, still have the same lazy boy. And my son Curtis, the oldest at 32, right, who until a couple days ago was making more than me. And the other 2, the girls are doctors, married to neurosurgeons, and they're all 4.0 students. So mom's got a little talent. I'm just kind of average.
Front row left, Matt, then Mike.
Coach right here, Matt Weaver, 247 Sports, pigs.com. talked about working for Coach Saban. Obviously, your dad was a great coach, but what kind of things did you take from Coach Saban, from your father, that you've put into your coaching career?
Well, I never worked for my dad and only played for him 1 year. But when I went with Coach, I'd been coaching, I think, about 28 years at that point. Learned more from him in year one about how to lead and run a program than the previous 27, I'd say. And just everything from A to Z. Monthly calendar, how to lead and manage people, how to avoid complacency, which he was so good at on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute, second-to-second, count. How to practice, how to play the game, plan for winning the game, how to recruit, how to evaluate, how to staff or restaff every year. I mean, look, the margin for victory, like President Whitten said, the margin for victory in this game is like this, right? Didn't you lose 6 one-score games last year? I think so, yeah, okay. So, you're talking like a couple plays make the difference in the game. So that's why, finding the edge, having the right mindset going into the game, right? Making sure complacency isn't setting in on your organization on Sunday after a big win or Monday, you follow me? That by Wednesday, you better know in your mind, my mind, I got it right. I got everybody right where I want them. Look, we start staff meetings at 7 in the morning, 7:30. I'm in at 5, preparing the day, right? And when I start talking about making sure we got the edge, avoiding complacency, everybody's mindset where it needs to be, it starts the second I walk in that staff room, because it's a top-down approach. Starts with me, and I make sure those 10 guys are thinking like we need them to think, because it's going to filter down to players. Because look, those first 2-3 games, everybody's ready to play. Everybody. After that, it's who shows up ready to play. Right? That's called coaching. And it counts.
Mike, front left and center.
Yeah, Coach Mike Nyzak from the Herald Times. I spoke to a couple of your colleagues from Elon this morning. They said, kind of what you're alluding to, that the day one you tried to instill belief into the team, and it rubbed off, and that was kind of one of the keys to kind of the run you guys made. How do you do that day one? You've talked about kind of improving the brand. You said it starts from the top, but what goes into that?
I don't have a magic wand that I'm going to wave right now, and everybody's going to feel like a champion and a winner, okay? I just got to have the team ready the first game of the year. It's a process. And it's a process, and it's a way you go about doing things. It's a standard, it's an expectation. A high standard, a high expectation, it's accountability, right? It's discipline, commitment, toughness, work ethic, pride. It's wanting to be great versus wanting to be normal. And, normal kind of equals average. And average is okay. There's no problem with average, except in my business. My business, average is the enemy. And to be great, you got to have special focus, special commitment, special preparation, and discipline, and the ability to say no to some things. All right? So you stack great days on top of each other. You play the game the way we want to play the game, one play at a time, 6 seconds a play. Every play's got a life and a history of its own. Play every play like it's nothing. Don't be affected by success or failure. Be able to compartmentalize and go to the next play. Playing it the same way. Because what happens then? You get to the end of the game, game's on the line. You're used to practicing that way, playing that way, right? You're just doing your thing. That guy's looking at the scoreboard and he's like, tightening up a little bit. You win those games. Like at Elon, we won those 8 games in a row that first year, 8 and 45, whatever they were. Every one of those games went to last play of the game. It was the most unbelievable thing in the world. Last play of the game. This year, JMU, we won more one-score games than any year I'd been there, because we had a lot of new pieces on offense. Took us a while. All right? I think we led the country in one-score wins. I know we did 3/4 of the way through the season, and may have at the end of the year. So it's a way that you do things, and it's a mindset.
Sammy, front left and top.
Coach Sammy Jacobs, Hoosier Huddle, the staff you're bringing with you, those guys, have done a pretty good job. Can you take us through those guys who are coming with you and describe what they're about and how they help you with the process?
Yeah, they're kind of like recruits right now that I can't comment on because they haven't gone through the background checks and the paperwork and stuff like that. But I have a great group of guys on my staff, and a lot of them will be joining us here. I will talk and evaluate every staff member from last year's staff as well, and we'll put together the best staff for Indiana University.
Todd, second row right, and Mason.
Todd Golden with Cignetti, Indiana. Kurt, Scott mentioned an emphasis on developing quarterbacks. Well, how were you successful in convincing him you were the right guy to do that? What's your own philosophy on making quarterbacks elite?
It didn't take much convincing. The proof's in the pudding. I mean, we had 4 quarterbacks at JMU in 5 years. They all had their major skeptics going into the season, and all 4 of them were Conference Player of the Year on offense. So, you tweak the offense depending on the strengths of the team, what the quarterback can do, how's the offensive line, what's your receiving core like, et cetera. I mean, we've also had 2 1,000-yard receivers in the same season, 2 out of the last 3 years. We led the conference in scoring every year I've been at JMU. We led the country in defense against the run this year, led the country in sacks, at least until the 11th or 12th game. I don't know if we finished first. I think we did. TFLs have always been high. Points allowed has always been very low. Special teams have always been very good. And we've been the least penalized team in the conference the last 2 to 3 years, which was a dramatic change from when I first went there.
Mason, front row right, and Seth.
Coach Mason Williams with thehoosier.com to your right over here. Scott said that they wanted a coach that was going to be able to utilize NIL and resources.
Mm-hmm.
And that is obviously a very powerful resource for college football now. What is your plan to utilize it here at Indiana?
Use it as smart and efficiently as possible. I mean, it's mathematics. Here's what you got. You rank your team. Here are our best players. And here's what this guy should get and that guy should get. You lose a guy, okay, you got a little more. You lose a guy, now you got to go get a guy. It's really not that hard.
Seth right in front, and Tom.
Seth Tao with the Daily Hoosier. They talked about your recruiting acumen. I know you served as recruiting coordinator at Alabama. I guess, what's your approach to recruiting and philosophy for recruiting? Are there any maybe characteristics you look for specifically? And, I mean, what to you makes a good recruiter?
Well, I think it's, from a sales standpoint, it's presenting your brand and the opportunities created by your brand, developing relationships. I think the evaluation component is really important. From a physical standpoint, there's a lot of good players out there. There's position-specific criteria. Some of them are common to all positions. I'm more into production than potential. I'm a little old-fashioned. I'll look at the high school transcript and see how many absences a guy has. We want good students that have strong habits, right? Because it's all about choices and decisions. In life you got freedom of choice, but not freedom of consequence. First you form your habits, and your habits form you. Now look, a lot of these guys are 17 years old, and our job is to mold them, make them the best person, student, and student athlete they can be during their time at Indiana University so they can be successful in life. Just so happens with the COVID extra year, you're coaching a lot more 6th and 7th year guys, which from my standpoint is nice. You got a lot less problems, okay? But you have to engage in the portal, because everybody's turning over at least 30% of their roster right now. If you don't, you got no chance. But you build it with high school guys. There's a lot of good players out there, a lot of guys that can be successful. Remember, it's recruiting and development. You got to develop them now. The way you coach them, the things you put in their head, the habits they form in the weight room, on the practice field, and then retention as well.
Tom, those on your left.
Coach Tom Bruce, Sports Illustrated Indiana. Welcome to Bloomington.
Thank you.
You are joining a Big Ten conference where half the teams in the league are continuously recruiting 4-star and 5-star type athletes.
Yeah.
How that has not happened here. I mean, when you are trying to compete at that level for recruiting, what do you need to do to make things different here to be more successful with that at the higher level?
Yeah. I've never really looked at stars ever, honestly. It's kind of like, I get so focused in on certain things, like in this particular case, evaluation. I guess these stars have been around for a long time. I have never, ever looked at a star. Do you really think some guy that puts stars on kids knows what he's talking about compared to coaches who are watching hours and hours of tape on kids? Now, if you want to get ratings and you want to go recruit the guys with the most stars, because there's always going to be somebody who shouldn't have 4 stars that's going to be available, right? You can go ahead and do that. That's not how we operate.
Jim, go to on your left, and Zion.
Coach Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. With the move up to the Big Ten, you also move into a league that is fraught with the NIL portion of this, and there's a pledge of $3 million to the football program.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to develop that plan, since that's not something you've had to really deal with before?
Yeah, it is.
And do it in a way that you can compete the best you can with the teams in the league.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referencing, not having to deal with. So we've been dealing with NIL for 3 years now, and we had a collective at JMU. So I guess your question is, I thought I answered it already, to be honest with you. There's going to be people in this conference that probably have more resources than we do, but that's not detrimental. You got to take the right kind of guys. You got to develop them, form the intangibles on your football team, right? And that's what we plan on doing. There's a lot of good players out there. The price tag on a guy, and the correlation between his production on the field, I'd like to see the percentage of that, right? I know this at JMU. Our best transfers were the ones from St. Francis, all these FCS schools, right? I had 2 quarterbacks that came from G5 schools that were really unsuccessful at 2 different schools, and the teams were unsuccessful, that came to our place in their player year on offense, right? My worst transfers at James Madison were Power 5 guys. They were my worst.
Zion, go to your left.
Kurt, we're Zion Brown, Indy Star. You mentioned earlier today on Big Ten Network that you're approaching this as the same way you would if you had the Michigan job. I guess ultimately, what is your vision for what this program can be?
We're going to work every day to be the best we can be. We have no self-imposed limitations.
Andrew on your right, and Zach.
Kurt, Andrew Chernoff, Wish TV Sports in Indianapolis. You met with the team earlier today. What was your message to them? And for fans who don't know, what will a Coach Cignetti coach team look like on the field?
Yeah, I'd introduce myself to the team, my background, my track record, what my expectation level was, how we do things. I told them I was excited, and that we were going to change the brand, the culture, the mindset, the expectation level. And it doesn't happen in one day, but we don't need to be ready to do that until right before we go out for that first game.
Zach, front right, from the other Zach.
Coach Zach Browning, thehoosier.com. How would you describe, and I recognize the roster is not really where it's going to be at come the season, how would you describe and how would you kind of grade what a successful season would look like this year for you guys?
I haven't thought that far in advance. It's pretty hypothetical. I think that's a hard question really to answer. I'd give you more of a process-oriented answer, like a team that invested every day to be the best it could be and played very consistently Saturday. That's what I was most proud of about my team last year at JMU. Like, I had some great teams that won a lot of games. Last year's team listened to the message the best, applied it on the practice field daily the best, had consistency in performance in practice every day Now, some were a little better than others, but there weren't the swings. And they competed hard every Saturday and laid it on the line. And that's what made that team special. Didn't always play great, right? So give me a team next year that listens, applies it, commits, plays it like we want them to play, process-oriented. We're going to do okay.
Zach, on your right, Jack.
Zach Oster with the Indianapolis Star again. I guess I recognize there's probably not a perfect answer to this question, but between everything here and obviously still being part of the bowl preparation and everything with James
Right.
Madison, just what do these next few weeks look like for you
Yeah.
in terms of maybe meeting with players, obviously getting
Right.
your arms around recruiting, and then of course everything in Harrisonburg?
I mean, my focus is Indiana University. I got to get to know the roster, the players, last year's coaches. There's a lot of work that needs done. At JMU, they're not even sure the bowl date, who the opponent is. They'll find out soon. We'll see what happens in terms of coaching that game. The athletic director back there would like me to. Indiana's created a window of opportunity where I could. But they'll also hire a new football coach back there in about 10 days, and depending on how quickly he puts his staff together and when the bowl game is, we both agreed we need to be nimble on our feet. Regardless, 90% of my preparation or more will be here. I won't be involved in much preparation for the bowl game.
Jack, go to left and Matt.
Hey, Coach. Jack Ankeny with SI Indiana. What do you see as the biggest challenge in elevating a program that finished with the worst record in the Big Ten this last year to where you want it to be?
Changing the way people think.
Matt, on your left in front, and we'll wrap with Mike.
Which I understand with, I'm sorry, Matt Weaver with 247. I understand with recruiting, it's become natural, especially with the portal, but you've been in a lot of different places. Are there certain areas where you feel like you're going to be more focused on as far as high school recruiting, geographically areas like parts of the country that you have more connections in, or is kind of what's your plan with that?
I think most teams across the country, the plan is about the same. You got to do a great job in your state, the border states, 4.5, 5 hour radius. Then, what other pockets do you need to get into to have enough prospects so you can get what you need? You've got to be in southern states, Georgia, Florida, and then you dabble in the areas where you have contacts, whether it's Pennsylvania or the Mid-Atlantic. We got teams in California now in the Big Ten. There's players from California on the roster. There's players from Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, which isn't that far from here, Kentucky. So, wherever they are, we'll find them. And, if we think they're a good fit and a good match, then we'll get them on campus. And, yeah.
Mike, last one.
Yeah, Mike Nisley again from the Herald Times. It's kind of a two-part but related. You mentioned your wife and your family. As you've kind of risen up the ranks, how have you leaned on her, and what was her kind of reaction to you getting this opportunity? And has she pushed you, like you said, to be uncomfortable? And then your father, obviously, you mentioned him, Hall of Fame coach of West Virginia. What would this moment be like for him to see you here standing in the Big Ten now?
Well, I think he's probably would have had a lot of proud moments. When you're at the crossroads, you think a lot about what would he say. But you're your own guy and you do your own thing. With the kids out of the house and the dogs gone, my wife's had the opportunity to make more away games, be on the team plane, stuff like that, and get around the program a little bit more, which really to me is I love that. I think it just enriches everything and it makes it more meaningful. And we're excited about this opportunity. There's great people in this state. This is a tremendous institution that, its time has come to make some noise and make a statement, and we're going to work every day to make that happen.